On a quiet evening in downtown Springfield, Keanu Reeves walked into a local pizzeria, where two young boys, unaware of who he was, whispered dismissively about him. When Keanu overheard their conversation, his reaction surprised everyone. What did he do next that left everyone in stunned silence? Stay tuned for today's video on Animal Needs Love and find out more. On a warm evening in downtown Springfield, the pizzeria was bustling with its usual charm. The comforting aroma of freshly baked pizza filled the air, mingling with the sound of friendly conversation. The pizzeria was a staple in the community, a small yet welcoming space where everyone knew each other's name. It was a place where families gathered after long days, friends reunited, and people came together to share meals and stories. But on this particular evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the night air grew cooler, something extraordinary was about to unfold. As the door swung open, a man stepped into the pizzeria. He was dressed casually, jeans, a black t-shirt, and a worn leather jacket. His appearance was simple, unassuming, and yet there was an unmistakable air of recognition about him. The moment he entered, the hum of conversation slowed, and whispers spread through the room like wildfire. Patrons turned their heads, eyes wide with disbelief. "It can't be. Is that?" someone murmured. "It's him," another voice gasped. Keanu Reeves, the Hollywood star, had just walked into the pizzeria. His presence was both unexpected and unassuming. The diners exchanged astonished glances, barely able to believe that a celebrity had just entered their beloved local pizzeria. But Keanu moved with the calm, collected grace of someone who had long been accustomed to being noticed. He didn't seek attention. Instead, he simply made his way to the counter, where he ordered a pizza without any fanfare. The room buzzed with excitement, but Keanu remained the same quiet figure, unaffected by the commotion. Near the soda machine, two boys, James and Tim, stood quietly, their eyes darting around the bustling pizzeria. The place was filled with the warm, comforting aroma of pizza, the hum of casual conversation, and the clinking of silverware. Families sat together at checkered tables, laughing and sharing slices. The atmosphere was light, but for James and Tim, there was an unspoken tension that weighed heavily on them. James, the older of the two at 14, held a crumpled dollar bill and some loose change in his hand. He counted it once more, then again, his brow furrowing. It wasn't enough. They had come here hoping to treat themselves to a hot, delicious meal after a long day. But now, standing in front of the menu board, the reality of their situation set in. The money they had could barely cover a drink, let alone a pizza. Tim, his younger brother at 11, stood next to him, shifting from foot to foot. His stomach let out a loud, insistent growl, making James wince. Tim looked up at him with a mix of embarrassment and hunger. "James, I'm really hungry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. James gave him a reassuring smile, though it didn't reach his eyes. "I know, buddy. I'm sorry," James said softly, his voice tight with frustration. They'd been trying to make ends meet, doing their best with what they had, but things had been tough lately. Their mother, a nurse who worked long hours, couldn't always be around to help them. So, it was just the two of them most of the time, and sometimes meals had to be skipped or postponed. The boys stood in silence for a moment, both feeling the weight of the situation but not knowing how to fix it. They could leave now and head back to their small apartment, but that meant facing another empty night. Or they could wait until their mom finished her shift, hoping she'd be able to pick them up with something to eat. But even then, it was never guaranteed. James glanced over at Tim, who was watching the people at the tables with longing eyes. He could tell his little brother was trying not to cry, trying to hold it together the best he could. James hated seeing him like this. but there was nothing he could do. He shifted the crumpled bills from one hand to the other, wishing there was a way out of this, wishing things were different. Then, as if on cue, Tim's stomach growled again, louder this time, and both boys flinched. They were hungry, more than they cared to admit. They just didn't have enough to feed themselves. James looked down at his brother, trying to come up with a solution, but nothing came to mind. They could just wait, but how much longer would they have to wait before they could eat? How long could they pretend everything was okay when they were both starving? In that moment, the weight of their small problem felt much bigger than it really was. They weren't looking for much, just a meal to fill their stomachs. But without the money, it felt like an impossible task. They lingered by the soda machine, too proud to ask for help. Their quiet conversation was unnoticed by most, except for one person, the last person they expected to notice. Keanu stood near the counter, overhearing their quiet conversation. Something tugged at his heart. The boy's struggle felt all too familiar. He knew what it was like to be in a tough spot, to feel alone and unsure. Without hesitation, Keanu walked over to where the boys were standing. "Hey, everything okay?" he asked gently, his voice warm and inviting. James froze for a moment, caught off guard by the celebrity's sudden approach. He quickly shook his head, trying to brush it off. "It's nothing," he mumbled, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're fine." But before James could say more, Tim's stomach let out a loud, unmistakable growl. Keanu chuckled softly, recognizing the situation for what it was. "Sounds like you two could use a pizza," Keanu said with a smile. "What kind do you like?" James looked at him in disbelief, unsure if Keanu was serious. Tim's wide eyes and hungry expression gave away the answer. James finally spoke up, his voice small but sincere. "We'll take a cheese pizza." Keanu smiled and turned to the counter. "One more cheese pizza, please," he said, ordering another one to share. As he waited for the pizza to be prepared, he motioned for the boys to sit at his table. "Come on, grab a seat," Keanu invited. "We can wait together." As the pizza arrived and the boys settled at the table, the atmosphere shifted from awkwardness to something warmer. Keanu's kind gesture had turned a tense moment into one of connection. He asked the boys about their lives, and they began to open up. Tim, with excitement in his voice, shared his love of dinosaurs and how he dreamed of becoming a paleontologist one day. James, though more reserved, talked about his aspiration to become a firefighter. Keanu listened intently, nodding along and offering words of encouragement. "Those are great dreams," Keanu said, his smile reassuring. "It takes a lot of courage to follow them. No matter what anyone else says, you've got what it takes." The conversation, once filled with uncertainty, now felt light and hopeful. The boys began to relax, and for a moment, they forgot about their worries. During the evening, James grew quieter. He watched his younger brother smile and laugh, but something was weighing on his mind. After a few moments, he opened up to Keanu. "Our mom's a nurse," James said, looking down at his pizza. "She works long hours, and we don't always get to see her much. Sometimes it feels like it's just me and Tim, trying to get by until she's home. She does everything she can, but it's hard." Keanu's expression softened, his eyes filled with understanding. "I get it," he said quietly. "Your mom is doing her best. It's not easy, but you two are lucky to have each other." Just then, the door swung open again, and their mother, Laura, stepped inside. Her face lit up in surprise when she saw her son sitting with Keanu. She hadn't expected to find them in such good company. Her exhaustion from a long shift melted away as she took in the scene. Keanu stood and greeted her with a friendly smile. "It's nice to meet you," he said. "You've got two amazing kids here." Laura, still in shock, thanked him. her voice thick with emotion. Keanu handed her a small card with his contact details. "If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out," he said kindly. "You're doing an incredible job." Tears welled up in Laura's eyes and she hugged her boys tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice choked with gratitude. As the night drew to a close, Keanu stood up to leave. He gave the boys one last hug and offered some final words of encouragement. "Keep chasing your dreams," he said, "and remember, you're never alone." Before he left a generous tip for their meal, ensuring that the boys wouldn't have to worry about paying for anything. They thanked him one more time, their hearts full of gratitude. The night had taken an unexpected turn, and the connection they shared with the famous actor would stay with them forever. When Keanu stepped out into the night, the patrons in the pizzeria were left in awe. What had started as an ordinary evening had turned into a lesson in kindness and compassion. Keanu's simple gesture of reaching out to the boys had not only made their night, but had also reminded everyone present of the power of a small act of kindness. Sometimes the simplest gestures are the ones that leave the biggest impact. That's the end of the story today. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a small act of kindness that had a profound impact on you? How did it change the way you see the world? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you find our video interesting, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with others. Finally, don't forget to turn on our bell and subscribe to our channel. Animals need love, so you don't miss any of our new videos. Thank you for your support. Wishing you all peace, happiness, take care, and we'll see you in the next one.